I guess I just didn't even notice, but I will make mention, or I didn't think to say, I organize all my hardware out. This is sort of the electrical stuff. This is framing and deck building stuff. There's plumbing fixtures here, wall anchors and drywall anchors and stuff in there. These are monstrous, Jesus, this 60 frames per second. These are these giant timber locking screws and lag bolt replacement screws, little crimp, all the little PEX connectors and holders and cradles and strapping and stuff like that for plumbing. All my washers. This entire box is full of washers. You can be messy and organize your tools however you like, but there really is. It's the reason the hardware store is like this. There's no better way of keeping hardware than brutally organized. Basically, I don't care how uncomfortable it makes you. It's just so important. There's a lot of money here. There's tons and tons. I mean, there's got to be nearly $1,000. There's more than $500 in hardware here, just as a factor of here and around me here. But you want to keep it organized because you want to make use of every single thing. I don't ever, if a screw falls out on the floor, I don't just throw it away. I put it back in the box. Everything has to have a place to go. You always put it back. You use every single one of them. If you haven't used it, you know exactly where it is for next time. That's a big way that you can nickel and dime yourself. So I'll mention that. You got to organize your hardware how you like, or can do it for yourself, but it has to be organized. Typical materials. We talked about the WD-40 and some pipe dope and stuff like that. Great stuff foam. You want to use window and door foam around windows and doors because it doesn't swell up so much that it distorts the jamb and pushes it over and keeps the jamb from working. This is big gap filler. I use it when I need to fill big gaps, obviously. In fact, you can get it now in a gun that the can screws onto for pros. That has pros and cons. Another big material that's important to the construction industry now more than ever is polyurethane. This is polyurethane roof and flashing sealant. It's black. This is polyurethane construction adhesive. It's sort of a natural kind of wood kind of tone. And this is a polyurethane white exterior caulk and sealer for around windows and doors and things like that. What's the deal with polyurethane? It actually bonds to things, unlike silicone. It's just as rubbery and forever as silicone is, though. So it bridges the gap. Silicone was always tough. It always had great UV resistance. It always was waterproof. It didn't crack. It's very stretchy. However, it's not really bonding to things. It's just filling in around and fitting exactly to the physical textures of stuff. So it's attached, and it's, it goes on wet and cures to a solid, so then it's locked up on there. But it's never really been truly attached. It's not a glue. This is an incredible glue. The polyurethane construction adhesive glue is outrageous. Liquid nails and that kind of silicone-based adhesive shit is garbage. Polyurethane sealant as a replacement for mastic, tar, what's the word I want? Petroleum-based roof flashing and shit like that. This is just far and away a much better product. And then this here is like your exterior beauty stuff for caulking around windows and doors. Again, it's truly bonded urethane, so it's truly sticking to things, but it's also always really rubbery and stretchy. It's an incredible sort of chemical family, so I stick to the urethanes as much as possible. And then when you're finishing around trims and stuff like that before painting to close stuff up, you're usually right about to paint, so you want something that's quickly drying on you, and it doesn't need to be good enough for outdoors. So the Sherwin-Williams, the 1050 QD, I love that to finish all my trim, casement, and built-in cabinetry and everything like that indoors. These here, this can be used inside and out, and there's different formulations, but these here are for exterior use. And then 100% silicone. You still can't beat clear 100% silicone in the bathroom, or around the sink, and I don't want to say toilet because you don't caulk a toilet, but in places like the back where the cabinet meets the wall, you want to keep water from cascading down there. Around the sink, you want to keep water from cascading in there. Along in front of the tub, between the flooring and the tub, you want to keep water from getting down in there. You want to do a real small, low-key, unobtrusive, clear bead of clear caulk silicone. Just come through one and done it. And so that still has a lot of utility in the bathroom and in the kitchen. And a nice caulk gun. I don't fart around with the metal ones anymore. This is an aluminum plunger and plastic. The rest of it's plastic, but it has just great action, and every time you pump it, it backs the pressure off. So it won't sit there and keep puking out the material, which is one of my least favorite aspects of a cheaper, although these are only 12, 14 bucks. So why anybody messes with those steel caulk guns anymore, I have no idea. But you could leave this lay outside for a year and it won't be all seized up and rusted on you, which I don't do anyway. But again, a Sherwin-Williams thing. The Sherwin-Williams products, fantastic, and I'll continue to talk about that over here with our paint choices and paint supplies. Just a standard plastic tray for rolling paint out. It's robust. If you treat it well, it'll last you a long time, and you get a bunch of liners for it. And you keep a liner around for every color of paint that you're using, and every time you use that color of paint, you throw that liner back in the tray until the entire project is done, at least, if not longer. So that's how we roll around here. I've got a couple trays. I don't shit them all up with paint. I cut paint liners for them, and I have a couple nice pretty rollers. Again, aluminum, plastic. If you treat it with respect, it'll last forever. And their little cabinet roller and stuff like that too. Little paint pots. I love these little tops. These little silicone. They're hybrid. I think there's silicone and maybe some other stuff going on here because I don't quite feel like silicone, but I snap one on every color that I'm using. You can just pinch them to get the top to open like that. You can pull this little tab up on there so you get a little breather. You pour your stuff out and you close it up again. If you're in and out of different colors of paint for a project, there's no reason why another $1 or $2 you can't spend on these lids. For the duration of the project, it makes opening and closing, opening and closing, opening and closing. Pour it, because if you're going to roll with paint, you're going to pour paint into the roller tray out of a can, and then you should clean the edge of the can with a brush and strike it off back in the can, clean the outside off and strike. Now you've got a brush cover with paint and a tray full of paint for rolling. You're going to wash a brush just to go to roll. Forget all of that. Get these lids. They're so good. And when you're all done with everything, you can push this down inside of it and store them like that, completely sealed. They'll stack up, no problem, like they always did. And they're always ready to go again. You pop that stem of it back up. I even have it on my contact adhesive rubber cement can. Anything that comes in these cans, whenever I'm at the store, I get a couple of these. If I'm feeling frisky, if I have extra money in my pocket, I'll get a couple of these. If I feel like we need some, or if I go get some new colors of paint, I'll get a couple. I've always got them around. Fantastic. And for cleaning, before painting, you want to take all kinds of hand grease and grime off everything, or you won't have a very good paint job. Goof off will do it, but it's aggressive, and you want to be really careful about what you wipe this on. You want to test it. It'll destroy plastic. It'll destroy a lot of coatings. I have a really nice X-Acto brand cutting mat that I use like a blotter on my desk for looks. But it's got the grid marks on it and everything else. And I got a little smuts on there one time. I busted out the goof off and gave it with a dry paper towel and a little goof off. And I had washed all the grid marks off right in that spot just instantly. So you want to be careful with this. Windex, on the other hand, is like soapy water in a bottle. They clean fine artwork with it. They clean, classic oil paintings and stuff with it. It's very mild. You could still test it, or if you wanted, but it's an extremely mild compound or product, and I like to use that to clean almost everything else. Brake Clean is sort of in between the two. It's not as aggressive as Goof Off, but it's more aggressive than Windex, but it truly cleans grease right off. You can be absolutely sure that there's nothing greasy left. And a lot of times I clean metal and stuff with this before I give it a paint job, but I have cleaned a few things with it around, like the refrigerator or the stove and stuff like that. I'll use Brake Clean on there because it really works well. And some good brushes. And you want to wash them and take care of them and comb them out so that they dry back to a brick of organized and orderly bristles, and not just an explosive pile of bullshit. And you want to take care of all that stuff. But for the most part, that'll get you, brain wrapped around tearing things apart, ripping them open, installing new stuff, closing things back up again, and finishing it down. It certainly is not an exhaustive look at that sort of work, but that does explain most of the tools on the table here. if not directly, indirectly. We got some sanding to do. We got some paper and a sander. We have some oscillating saws. We have a jigsaw here. Light. I can't see. I've had a problem this whole video series. A nice big light. I have a variety of lights that work on the batteries that my power tools work on, and charging those batteries. But then you've always got light around. Tape measure, obviously. Various squares. After I glued down the linoleum tiles over there, you can get bigger ones, but I was using this roller to get that to sit down tight. If I'm chiseling something, I'm using a mallet like this because I don't have to think about hitting the chisel correctly with the hammer. What I should be doing is looking at what the chisel's cutting, not worrying that I might smash my hand with a hammer. So you get a hammer that works at 360 degrees all the way around. Now you can blindly tap away on that chisel and you can watch what you're cutting, which is what you're trying to do here. That's the idea of the task at hand. So, impact nailer or palm nailer to drive nails in with this action like that rather than hitting them with a hammer when you don't have the room to do so. Clamps, straps, ratchet straps, levels, an extendo pole for the paint roller that'll get you up to the ceiling. Ladders, obviously, selection of ladders. There you have it. That's what this is all about. We'll see you.